So we had worked on our products.go file and repository.go file. And we worked on these because in our shop application products, we wanted to create the add product function, and then we realized that we wanted to create a new price and product. So that's why we're working on those files, repository and new product, right? And we also started working on our price. We had to define this struct price. But there are a couple of things remaining in this price.go file, and I want to tackle those right now. So the first thing that I want to pick up on is having those variables. So as you notice that we are creating these variables everywhere in most of these files, these variables for handling the errors that we think might be generated here. So the two errors that I think will be generated here that I want to handle using these variables is price too low and invalid currency. So I'll be using the errors package, errors.new, and price must be greater than 0. Just define these errors for now, and I'll explain to you where we'll need it. We'll need it in some time, so don't worry. And here it's just invalid currency. So you have a new price function, and then we'll have one more function called new price panic. So for P, it basically stands for panic. That you can use the new. This is basically going to call the new price function only, but if there's an error, it'll just panic. So we'll need this function also. And firstly, let's talk about the new price function, right? New price function is getting called from application products. When we're adding a new product, we want the new price function to be called. So this is the main application. Now it accepts cents, it accepts currency, which is a string, and it's a new price function, right? What is it going to return? It's going to return a price. Now I said that new price P is a similar function. It's basically going to call this function, but it's going to panic if there's an error. So it's going to accept again cents, which is uint, and currency, which is string, and it's going to return price. All right, so new price is going to check if the cents that you receive is less than 0, then you will return price, comma, you'll return the errors, which is price is too low. If length of currency is not equal to 3. So currencies always have like USD, INR, like 3 digits, 3 letters you can call it. So if it doesn't have that, it's not a valid currency code, right? So you'll return again the price, comma, invalid currency. And at the end, if everything goes well, you want to return nil for the error. The second thing is the error, right? So we want to return nil. Till now we were returning these errors because we were encountering these errors. But now, if everything went well, we want to return the price properly and no errors. So here we will say the cents and currency will be returned properly. And we'll return nil for the error. Now coming to the new price P, which is supposed to panic, right? So we'll say new price. Like I said, it's basically going to call this function the new price function only. And we'll call it using cents and currency. And you'll get that value in a variable called P. Or you might get an error. So if there's an error, you want to handle that error. So there shouldn't be any space between the exclamation mark and it's equal to. Make sure you don't have any space. And like I mentioned, the whole point is to panic if there's an error. Or you return P, which is the price. Awesome. Now, in our products file, we had these functions which basically returned name, description, price, and ID. So similarly, I'll have two functions here, which are, sorry, I said functions. These are methods, not functions. So functions which belong to the struct price. Here return p dot cents. Currency. Return p dot currency. All right, so your price.go file is now complete. Now, since this file is complete, it makes sense to come back to the products.go file in your application. Okay. And now you'll just have a lot more context here. So now when we're calling the add product function, there's just so much more context because now we know what's happening here. Now we know what's happening here because we've created the new product and the new price functions, right? There's just so much context. So when this function is called, you want to capture what's coming back from this function into a variable called price, or there could be an error. Because we just created this function in a way that it will return the price or an error, right? And if there's an error, we want to handle that. We'll say if error is not equal to an error. So I'm sure you have noticed by now that this application products.go, this file, I'm keeping it as central. And I'm creating this file, and whatever I need, then I'm going and creating in all the other files and packages. I'm creating packages and functions based on the requirements of this file. And there's a reason for it, and you'll realize it very soon. But just for now, think of this as the central file that is going to do a lot of the work for you. And based on what this file needs, you create all the files and functions here and there. Okay. So now, if this function has not returned anything properly, it's returned an error. You're going to say return errors dot wrap. Sorry, it's just err. And in double quotes, you'll say invalid product price. And then this function is called products.newProduct function. This you'll capture in a variable called p. And you'll also capture the error. Now with the error, you want to check if error is not equal to nil. And you'll say return errors dot wrap cannot create product. And then once you've created the product, the last thing that's happening is using repo, which we still have to work on. We're using the save function. We still have to work on this function. Whatever P that you got, the product that you got, you want to send that to this function. So now we're done with these two files and we've created these two functions. Now it only means that we have to now work on this function, right? So for now, just understand that it's going to take the product that you've just created. This function is just going to take that. And we'll handle the error. Return errors dot wrap cannot save product, and you don't return anything. So now your add product function is complete, right? Now, so now we have two things that we can do. We can either work on this function, which I want to, or you can also work on these two functions. So I think I'm going to choose this function to work on right now. This video, I'll have to end it out here. We're not doing much in each video. We're doing little parts in each video so that you're able to understand what's happening, because the project is quite big and there's a lot to cover, but it's also confusing. It can also get confusing if you don't follow along properly. So make sure you spend only some time to it every day after your office, whenever you're learning this, and just do a little bit each day. And that's the right way to learn, by the way. Small steps every single day, and then you get the bigger picture. All right. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.